Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for your continued support and encouragement. I know that on Facebook, if you are following me on Facebook, I've been sharing about different careers that you can pursue when you come to Canada. But I find typing difficult sometimes because you have to sit down and type. So I thought that I'll also do some videos here on YouTube for specific, categories of people or for specific careers. So today I want to focus on social work. If you are a social worker or you know someone who's a social worker, then this video is for you. I'm just going to give a brief outline of what you need to do if you want to come to Canada and practice as a social worker. What are the steps that you need to follow for you to get your credentials assessed here in Canada? So the first thing that you need to do, even while you're still back home in Africa, is you need to have your social work credentials or qualifications assessed with the Canadian Association of Social Workers. And the earlier you start this process, the better. So what you do is you go on the website for the Canadian Association of Social Workers. Of course, I'm going to provide a link for this website in the comment section. So you download the Canadian Association of Social Workers verification form. When you download this form, you need to send it to your institution, and the form must be printed, signed, and sealed by the dean of the School of Social Work from your institution, or the dean in the Faculty of Social Work from your institution. And they have to send this verification form back to the Canadian Association of Social Workers by mail, and it has to come direct from your institution. So you don't have to send this, but your institution has to fill the form and send it back. So that is the first step. And you also need to have your official credentials or transcript by direct mail again from your institution. So let's say you have a master's of social work. You would want to send transcript of your master's in social work. So it's like you are sending the highest level of social work education that you completed. If you did only a bachelor's in social work, then you need to have your transcripts sent from your institution direct to the Canadian Association of Social Workers. So these two documents, the verification form, your transcript or official credentials, they have to come direct from your institution. That's the first step. And then the part 2 of the process, these are other documents that you have to send or upload as you make your online application on the website. If you go on the website, you'll find that they have the Canadian Association of Social Workers application form. You need to download the application form and you fill it in, so that when you submit your application for assessment, you also submit the form. You also need to submit course descriptions for each class that is on your transcript, and normally this can be from your institution syllabus or any other official document that you can get from your institution. You can make copies of this so that you can submit it along with your application. If you can't find this from your institution, then you might need to make 1 or 2 paragraphs stating purpose, content, and the learning objectives from each and every course that is listed on your transcript. So you can either do this yourself for the course descriptions, or you can get this document from your institution. You know best what works for you, and you know best how you can conduct your institution, so you can get this. And the other step that you need to do, or the other document that you need to submit, is your social work field practice descriptions. I know social workers, you do some field practice as you pursue your bachelor's degree or even your master's. So they need a social work field practice description as you submit your application. So this is like an overview of the type of setting, the number of hours that you spend doing the practice, doing the field practice. Sorry, you guys, you know better. If you are a social worker, I think you understand better what I'm talking about. Of course, you need to pay your application fee, which is 395 Canadian dollars right now. I don't know, maybe it may be increased, but if you do the process right now this year, the application fee is 395 Canadian dollars. When you've gathered all your documents and you've paid your application fee and everything, before you submit your application, you also need to download the document checklist. The document checklist just helps you to check if you have all the documents that are required. Have you submitted everything that is needed for the application process? And they want you to submit that checklist to make sure that you've checked and you've made sure that all the documents they need are in your application. And there are also other things that you might need to submit along with your application if they apply to you. For example, if you have any other post-secondary education prior to your first level qualification in social work, like for example, you have already a master's in social work, like I said, and you might need to send copies of your bachelor's of social work degree. So what you get assessed or what is sent direct from your institution is your master's of social work transcript. But if you have a bachelor's of social work, you can send copies of your transcript along with your application. They don't assess things like seminars or courses, diplomas, or secondary school credentials. So I think mainly if you have a bachelor's degree, you might want to submit the transcript of your degree along with the transcript of your master's of social work that will come direct from your institution. Other supporting documentation that might be needed as you submit your application, but it's not mandatory. It depends on whether it applies to you. Like for example, if you changed your name, then they need you to submit the proof of name change. If you have if you belonged to another social workers association in your home country, then you might need to submit proof of membership of that social work association. Then the last thing that you need to submit is a waiver form. A waiver form, you find it again on the Canadian Association of Social Workers website. This is a form that you need to complete and you mail it with other required additional or supporting documentation if you intend to practice in Canada. And of course, you want to practice in Canada. That's why you are doing this application in the first place. So when you do that, when you submit your application, you download the waiver form and you fill it in. And this waiver form is what the Canadian Association of Social Workers will send along with the letter to a provincial or territorial regulatory board. And this is designated in the waiver form. So it's very important for you to download and fill it in so that you'll be able to use this, or the Canadian Association of Social Workers will be able to use this to send to your province where eventually you are going to practice your social work. So basically, this is the procedure that you have to follow. And once you've submitted your application and all the documents that are required, the Canadian Association of Social Workers, they will review your application, and they emphasize that if anything is missing from your application, then they will not be able to start reviewing your application. So it's very important that when you go to the website, you check and you do that document checklist to make sure that you've submitted everything that is needed. When they review your application right now on the website, they mention that it takes about 6 to 12 weeks for them to review your application and let you know whether your bachelor's in social work or your master's in social work is also equivalent to a Canadian bachelor's or master's in social work. And once that process is done, because the tricky part here in Canada is that each province has its own regulatory body of social workers. So when you are done with the assessment with the Canadian Association of Social Workers, if you want to practice as a social worker, let's say in British Columbia, then again, you need to follow the procedures for you to be able to practice as a social worker in BC. So you need again to make an application and to follow the process with the British Columbia College of Social Workers. If you want to practice like here in Ontario where I'm based, then you need again to make your application or to pursue so that you practice and you get a license to practice as a social worker with the Ontario College of Social Workers and Social Service Workers. So it's a long process. That's why I advise that if you want to pursue this, you are a social worker, you have your bachelor's degree from back home, you have your master's in social work from back home, the best way to do this is to start already while you are still in your home country. Send already your credentials, do already the application. It's done online. You pay the application fee online, especially the assessment with the Canadian Association of Social Workers. You want to start doing that while you're still in your home country. And then maybe by the time you come to Canada, now you can pursue the assessment, or for you to be authorized to practice as a social worker with a provincial or territorial body, depending on the province that you choose to settle in. So right now, there are about 11 regulatory bodies of social workers in Canada. I feel that, and I've spoken to some social workers who've gone through the same process, and they tell me how the process takes time, but it's doable. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It's doable. If you have your credentials already from back home, you can come to Canada and you can be able to practice as a social worker. You just need to follow the process, which may take time. So someone that I spoke to who is a social worker here in Canada, she came from Africa. She has a PhD in social work, sorry, and she was advising that it's better for someone to come and do maybe a postgrad, a master's or PhD in social work here in Canada. That's one way. It's easier that way. If you are coming through express entry, then you need to start the assessment while you are still back home. But if you have a bachelor's in social work, it's advisable that you might want to look into how you can come to Canada and pursue a master's in social work. There are so many scholarships that are offered for social work students. It's just a matter of you researching and finding out which program suits you best and which programs offer scholarships. I've done already in one of my videos here on YouTube, I've done already a video that directs you to some of the scholarships that are offered here in Canada. But social work students also, they have specific scholarships that they get. So it's advisable that you come and do your master's in social work. PhD, there are even more scholarships for people who might want to come to Canada and pursue their PhD. It's easier that way, because once you graduate from a Canadian institution, it becomes easy for you to practice. Just like any other profession, even accounting, if you pursue it here in Canada, it becomes easy to practice, but it doesn't mean that it's not possible for you to get your credentials assessed and follow the process of you getting authorization to finally practice as a social worker. So guys, not only if you are coming to pursue a postgrad diploma, certificate, a master's or PhD, not only in social work. Let's say you have a bachelor's in social work, you might want to come and do a master's in mental health, because I believe it's linked. Or you might want to look into coming to Canada to do a master's, maybe in public health or any other related field to social work. Once you are done with that master's, then you can be able to go back to pursuing your authorization so you can practice as a social worker, if you still want to go back to social workers in social work per se. Because even teaching also, you need to be to have your credentials assessed if you want to teach social work, maybe at colleges or other institutions. So guys, this is what I had for you today. If you feel that you want to come to Canada and practice social work, you can come to Canada through express entry. Finding a job as a social worker from outside Canada could be tricky and could be difficult. Social work is a protected and regulated field, and for you to be able to practice as a social work, you need to have some kind of knowledge, background, and experience. So it's difficult. I don't want to lie to you guys and just give you false hopes. It will be difficult, but who knows? Maybe someone could be lucky, or the grace of God could locate you. So that's why I'm advising that get your credentials assessed. If you are coming through express entry, start the process back home. If you are coming to Canada, maybe use the study route, come to do a master's in any other related field to your first degree in social work, or do a master's in public health or any other related field. And that way, when you are done with your studies, you can decide whether you want to go back and pursue social work, or maybe just go on and work maybe in public health or mental health. I believe those are related fields. So I hope, guys, you are blessed as you continue to pursue your journey to Canada social workers. This was for you. See you in my next video.